Hi, third graders. I'm trying another new tool for us to do some learning on, and getting a few emails from different people. I know the packet discusses telling time, so I wanted to kind of briefly go through some beginning steps for how to tell time, and then maybe later on we can discuss elapsed time, which is time that passes. I hope you're having a really, really good week. Happy Wednesday. Just some things, message from Miss Heiser. Well, right now I'm wearing the shirt that I used to paint in because I just finished staining my table. Hope that a lot of you did the craft that I sent yesterday. It's really cool to see all of you watching my videos and staying active in your learning. One challenge that I have for you is that on IXL, we're at just short of 29,000 questions answered. I would love to see that get to 30,000 questions. Okay, so we're going to start our telling time lesson. Weird thing about the app I'm using, I can't see myself, but I know you can see me and the screen that I'm looking at. So telling time lesson 1. So what time does this clock say? I'm going to give you a moment. Okay, if you said 2:15, that's correct. I want to walk through over here. You can see my mouse. So the shorthand represents the hours, and then the longhand represents the minutes. So the shorthand is just a little bit past the 2, so I know that the hour is 2 o'clock. And then the minute hand is pointing at the 3, but we want to say it's 2:03. The minutes count by 5, so 5, 10, 15. This clock says 2:15. So here is what a clock would look like without hands on it. If we're looking at just our hours, we would start up here, and then we have 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm sure you've noticed this before. We have this clock similar to this in our classroom. A day has 24 hours. So on this type of clock, the hands will go around 2 times for 1 full day. So here's another way to kind of look at this. The blue numbers inside are telling you the hours, and then the orange-ish numbers on the outside are telling you the minutes. So like I said earlier, every hour, so when it says 1, for minutes that's 5. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. When the minute hand gets back up to the 12, that means a whole hour's passed because we know that there are 60 minutes in an hour. So when it gets back up here, we start a new hour. So we wouldn't say it's 1:60, that would become 2 o'clock. So let's go back and look at this one. If my minute hand was pointing at the 1, do you know what time it would be? In minutes. How many minutes would that represent? Right, 5 minutes. Okay, what if my minute hand was pointing down here at the 6? How many minutes would that be? Well, you can count. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That would be pointing for 30 minutes. In swimming world, we would say this is the bottom and this is the top. So whenever the minute hand gets to the bottom, it is a 30. And whenever it gets to the top, the clock will have a double 0. So here's another example. So we have digital clocks and analog clocks. The digital clock tells us that it is 10:05. So if I look over at my shorthand, it is pointing at the 10 o'clock, and then we skip count by 5s. So 5, 10:05. You'll notice that the hour hand is pointing very close to the 10, and that's because we just began the 10 o'clock hour. This minute hand needs to rotate all the way around before it becomes 2 o'clock. Before it becomes 11 o'clock. So 10:05. Analog clock, digital clock. Oops. So here's another clock we can look at. It looks like my hour hand and minute hand are both pointing to the 11. However, we know that the closer the minute hand gets to the 12, the closer it is to a new hour. So the hour hand has to keep moving too to get closer, but it's not quite yet to that 11, so it is 10:55. If I wanted to double check that, I would count by fives: 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So it is 10:55. All right, practice time. I have a clock over here. I want you to look at what hour is it pointing to, and then minutes. Remember, count by fives to find your minutes. I'll give you 15 seconds to try to solve this. Okay, hopefully you said 1:15. If not, that's okay. I'm going to talk through why it's 1:15. So first I'm going to find my hour hand, which is the shorthand. All right, found the shorthand. I'm going to follow it all the way to the end. Oh, it's not to the 2 yet, so I know it's still in the 1 o'clock hour. So I could already, between my two choices, choose the one that has 1 in front, but I'm going to check my minute hands as well. 5, 10, 15. So this clock is 1:15. Okay, so now I want you to do some matching. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to a minute to try to match up by drawing, or pointing, I guess, because you're on a computer, pointing from one clock to the other clock to figure out which time each one says. I'll give you a few seconds and then I'll talk through one of them. Okay, so let's look at this first clock. I'm sure you noticed that both the hands are pointing up towards the 12, and it looks like they're directly on. So this one would be 12 o'clock. Awesome. All right, try to figure out this one. Look at where my hour hand is pointing. Hasn't made it to the 2 yet. And then look at where my minute hand is pointing. It is pointing straight down at the 6, so we would count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. This one is 1:30. And then the last clock we're going to look at, I want you, and you already know the answer is 4:45, but how come? Why is it 4:45? If you have someone around you, take 10 seconds to tell them, or just talk to your neighbor who could just be yourself. Okay, so the reason this one is 4:45 is because it looks like it's almost to the 5, but this area right here is still the 4 o'clock hour, so it hasn't made it to the 5 yet. And then we can count by fives: 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So this clock is showing 4:45. Okay, so I'm going to take us back to a different clock. Hold up. All right, if we look at this one again, we decided that this says 2:15. Another way we could say that is it is 2:15. So if we divided our clock up into 4 equal parts, we have the 12, the 3, the 6, and the 9. We'll jump further into this later. For now, I just want you to practice telling time to the nearest 5 minute, like we were doing. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, a new hour. But just as a kind of preview to future things, this is 1/4. If the minute hand was pointing down, we would say it's 1/2 after, or 1/2 to, or 30 minutes to. And then if it was pointing to the 9, we would say it's 1/4 to the next hour. Don't worry about it too much, but let me know if you have any questions. I continue to be excited about finding new ways to learn with all of you. Have a good rest of your day.